Yes, so welcome back to the ISE stand here in Barcelona. Very exciting session. Jimmy, we have two rock stars at the
Oh,
table.
Who are the best?
This is
that's
the
high
session.
Who are the best?
billing. High billing.
This is the session that
Goodness.
I look forward to the most. It's the Fireside Chat, but please let's also open it up a little bit to the questions. We have people joining us online as well, so if you have any questions joining us online, feel free to submit your questions in the chat, and we'll try to answer as many as we can.
Sounds great.
First impressions, ISE.
Awesome energy this year. Like just the buzz of people. It's been fantastic to see everyone coming by the booth, coming by our partners' booths. I don't know. I mean, I'm obviously not counting, but it feels like a big crowd, especially for day one, especially for the morning of day one. Strong opening.
Yeah, it was good. Ilya, how about you? I know you just came in. You
Yeah,
had
they're
a-
very
a-
fresh
a-
impressions.
you had a rough start of
Your
the week.
45-minute-old
Yeah, I
impressions.
We're just
landed
walking
in
down the show
Barcelona
floor and
about two
Flight
2
challenge.
hours
Flight
ago.
challenge.
Not unheard of in the
Uh,
real world, which is why we do Teams rooms.
But I would second that when I walked in, I immediately thought this was busy. It feels like more people than last year. And I've only been in this hall I forget how
Yeah,
many
yeah.
halls
There are
there are.
8. Yeah.
But it's very busy, which is great. I love seeing the community, the customers, the partners, the OEMs take the time to come together and exchange information. So for me, a busy show is a sign of a healthy and growing community, and that's what it feels like.
good
Can,
stuff.
can we talk about walking through the hallway and how many Microsoft logos
I
are
know.
on all of these booths and how many actually
No.
have Teams rooms and Teams devices
Yeah.
in all of their booths at this point? Ilya, we've been here for a long time, and to see this grow the way that it has, it's unbelievable this year.
I
Great.
I think the first one of these I came out to, we didn't have a booth. I think Zoom had like a 2-person booth. Then the next year we were across from each other with little booths. But yeah, we were doing the transition from Skype for Business to Teams. In that transition, our logo was nowhere. And so to see all the folks that are building with Teams, on Teams, building for Teams rooms, having certified Teams devices, it's incredibly gratifying and humbling.
Yeah, agreed.
Before we open up for questions, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. So if you are here at the show, please make sure that you grab your passport, you go visit all the OEMs, get your stamp. That's for the people here as well. Grab your stamp, and you are eligible to win a prize. Also, if you have a Teams Rooms badge, either the sales or the technical badge, you have them here, make sure you pick these up at the booth as well. And then visit all the OEMs because they're also giving away amazing prices. We have an exciting announcement coming up on the sales badge, so we'll have a new sales badge soon. And then for those that have both the technical badges, we'll have an exciting announcement in the next couple of weeks. Before we go to questions from the audience, Ilya, is there anything? I'll start with Ilya, and then I'll go to you.
Yeah.
Anything top of mind when it comes to Teams Rooms and the stuff that we did in the last, let's say, 6 months or so?
Well, I always think about progressing on multiple axes, progressing on the capabilities we have for IT to deploy these systems quickly, keep them healthy, monitor them, update them. And there, of course, autopilot, one-time passcode, huge. Ongoing improvements in Pro Portal, remote access for Windows devices, really positive feedback from customers on those. The other axis is user experience. And there, I think we continue to have some great advancements in front row. We now have active speaker popping up to use all that real estate. Being in those meetings, I think it's pretty magical to be looking at someone when they're talking in full size, but still see the full sitting row with the backgrounds removed. We'll continue to make enhancements there. And then the third axis is get the technology into more and more spaces. And so I believe it's this week we're shipping some of the BYOD room announcements that we made a while ago. So anyone can plug in on their laptop to a display, nothing other than a display or a display in a USB peripheral. And we get that serial number and have that show up in Pro Portal so you can start monitoring. We have a better user experience there so you can put up just the meeting stage, not your whole personal teams. So more rooms, better experiences, faster and easier for IT.
Right. How about for you, Caroline?
Yeah, for me, I think there are two sort of main categories that I'm really excited about. The first one is what Ilya just mentioned, which is around expanding access to different types of shared spaces, whether that's your highest end room that you've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on, or a space that otherwise would have gotten no attention and love from the IT department if they even knew what was in it, can now be an incredibly rich experience and something that's much more manageable and valuable to the organization. So that's one category. The second one, and we've made it 10 minutes without someone mentioning it, so obviously I have to, which is CoPilot.
You need to do 4 more.
I was going to say, don't worry.
Quota.
I am not concerned about whether it will come up. But specifically for this world and this community, it's so much of the embodiment of what CoPilot will do for the meeting scenario. So to the extent that identity in the world of generative AI is the name of the game, right? We need to know who said things. We need to know who is in the meeting, not just that a room joined. The world of AV is what's going to make that possible. And I'm sort of waiting for our customers to connect the dots on that, because I think it's going to be an incredible thing for this industry to start bringing intelligence in cameras, intelligence in speakers, in mics, whether it's on the edge, in the hardware, or through cloud solutions, and what that unlocks for AI. Because those two things together, it's not just a nice to have, it's actually the thing that completes the vision that our customers are excited about.
But Caroline, you spoke about it. You spoke about the customers, and Ilya, you touched on it. We've listened to the customers, and one of the pain points was deploying multiple Teams rooms. We have seen the amount of Teams rooms that have grown over the years.
Yeah.
But now with our low friction deployment methods, and you said it, it's in preview right now with our customers. This isn't a far away thing.
No.
We're taking away that time period that it actually takes to get a room system into the room, up and running, and then functional. And that's huge for our customers to be able to do the numbers that they're doing right now.
Yeah, we are growing thousands of rooms a day, and that's only possible when customers can deploy rooms in under a day.
Yeah.
So I think our metric has always been sort of traditional AV space. It would take weeks to deploy a room. Then you got it down to days and maybe a day. And our goal is from unboxing to used in 4 hours.
It's funny. I was at an event the other day, and I was challenged by a partner to deploy a room in 4 hours. So you think I can do it?
Of course. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Let's take some questions from the audience. If you have a question, feel free to raise your hand, and we'll find a way for you to. And don't be shy. I know the first one is always difficult.
In fact, you got to yell for us to be able to
Yeah, you got to
hear
yell
it.
for us to hear it, but we'll
Right?
figure out a way.
Yeah, I didn't see a mic come around, so.
What's that? Oh,
did he say?
no. This is no. He didn't hear it, but I'll let him guess. The one question we always get when it comes to Android, and it's not feature parity, but it's the other one.
God, I don't know. There's so
Custom,
many questions.
custom,
God.
custom backgrounds.
Custom backgrounds.
Favorite question about Android.
It's being coded right now in Redmond. So
I love the idea of Ilya typing.
Yeah, that's
the
my
code.
impression of a coder.
This is how this works. Yeah.
It's being worked on right now.
I think that goes towards something, because we've been very, very transparent with our public roadmap, and we've been hitting a lot of things on the public roadmap.
97%.
Yeah.
My coworker, our engineering leader, Juan, reports out on how we do on public roadmap, including if, it'd be way too easy to say, oh, at the last minute, we'll move something out. And
Yeah,
good.
that's
Nope,
cheating.
That's cheating. So
Yeah.
we're, I think, at 97% for the last month. We've got some very big months coming up of a lot of stuff
There's a lot coming
that we
up.
promise. So yeah, we do try to hold ourselves accountable, which is when I do say on various different forums that we don't comment, it's because once we do comment, we hold ourselves accountable.
Yep.
100%.
You spoke about the intelligent audio coming into the rooms.
Yeah.
From a technical perspective, how difficult was it to bring that solution from the standalone mic plugs into more devices now?
Very difficult. So
Next question.
it's actually science that's happening right now. So what we're working on, there are 2 parts to it. One is you have to identify individual voices. 2 is then you have to put a name to the voice, and they're related. So what we did initially is train the models on a specific circular mic geography that let us have really good separation, meaning with that geometry, it was pretty straightforward to say there are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different voices. And then once you had them separated, it was easier to train the model to recognize it based on a sample.
Yeah.
Well, of course, the challenge then is that doesn't work with every room. You have to deploy new hardware. So what we're working on right now is saying, okay, we don't have that. We have any mic, single mic array, doesn't matter, but we get a single channel of audio. Can we have the models be good enough to separate out individual voices, part one, so that CoPilot could at least say speaker one said, speaker two said.
Yeah, that's
and
too bad.
then can we go ahead and again apply a sample and identify each of those voices? So it's completely new models for the recognition. We're pretty optimistic about the results. And by the way, those same models then, to be useful, you have to improve your transcription quality from any mic with a single channel audio. So really hard, data science and machine learning problems, but we've made really, really good progress.
But does that mean that customers have to buy new hardware as well? Can we bring that new technology into quote unquote older hardware?
Well, that's exactly what it means. So what it means is can work with any hardware.
Right.
Literally, our goal is any hardware that provides us a single channel of audio, we can apply the processing to separate out voices and then identify voices. That is our goal. We may start with some subset. For example, only certified Teams room systems. Because anytime you create a new model, if you create a bound set of hardware that you tested on, it's a little bit easier to get it out. But our goal is over time, any single channel set of audio.
Yeah, one way to think about it would be sort of what is the audio comparison for IntelliFrame? And I think that that's important because there are going to be some spaces where you still want all the fancy mics and speakers, right? Where that is something you want to deploy for a myriad of reasons, whether it's, attribution or other things. And that's great. Like we want to see our partners continue to investing in, wonderful solutions for rooms of varying sizes. But what could we do in the cloud? What could we do with the things that we get out of any speaker, any mic? And how can we optimize that experience so that we can, in some ways, democratize access to the really cool stuff that happens once you have that identity and attribution?
Right. Yeah. Let's take another question from the audience.
Anybody else?
I've never, ever been.
Right? They're all shy. They're all shy. All right, Ilya, I'll start.
No Android questions.
So one of the interesting things that's happened in the past year is your team has grown to not only include the people that do MTR, but also the people that even deploy MTR for Microsoft ourselves. Also, we've got the IT crowd. So you own soup to nuts and that entire experience going through it, correct?
Soup to nuts?
No, the team that deploys room technologies of Microsoft is not part of my team. We work super closely.
We work together.
They moved into what you can think of as our product organization. So they're under the same executive VP. They moved closer to product, which I think was a fantastic move. And so we do think of us as working super closely together, but they're not under me.
Because I think that has something to do with this popularity of signature rooms too. Seeing our partners who are deploying these huge rooms because Microsoft put them forward. And even here, you walk around the booth, 21 by 9. The only reason why 21 by 9 actually became a standard is because we created content that actually did the 21 by 9 standard. Now you can't find a display manufacturer that's not actually capturing 21 by 9.
I don't know if I take credit like in that way.
I think we can.
I will say that coming from a couple of years ago where it was, one vendor showing a very expensive 21 by 9 display to there are 21 by 9 displays here everywhere.
Yeah.
And I do think it is our responsibility to use every pixel in a way that improves productivity. So that means being configurable, and whether you have 2 displays, whatever format you have. But what I like to sort of say to our team is whatever surface we're given, small s surface, we should have the best experience on that. Use every pixel, And part of it too is meetings have become so much more than PowerPoint and gallery. The prevalence of transcription, notes, chat, reactions, raising hands, CoPilot, potentially in the future in the room is something you interact with. There's so much more where you could use more pixels to make the meeting more
effective.
usable,
More effective for the meeting.
Yeah, for sure. Caroline, talk a little bit about the Hive.
Yeah.
So signature rooms. I think we launched the concept maybe 2 years ago.
About a year and a half. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the first show here.
A year now.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, but I remember ISE here, which was in May back then. We had one of the first signature rooms. The customer said, "We don't want the equipment, we don't want the furniture, we want the full room."
Yeah.
Right? How far have we come since then?
I mean, it's been incredible. And I should be fair. A year and a half is how long we've had them packaged as a full archetype. We've been playing with the concept for a while, but you're right. We've gone from, oh, this is kind of interesting to, oh no, this is something that's unlocking both the imagination and the execution for a lot of our customers. Mm-hmm. It started as imagination, right? It's a beautiful video. That's all nice. You have a swirly video and everyone feels good about it. And then we got a lot of questions like, does anybody actually put these in their offices? Like, is this like a movie or is this real? And that actually was a really interesting point of feedback for us. It's like, well, let's make this real for people. You talked about the Hive. That's how we make it real for us as an organization. The Hive, if you have not heard, is our internal IT's experiment laboratory. And no one would ever think that internal IT organization would have as much airtime as the Hive team. Like, they are the rock stars of internal IT deployment teams. But they've taken those archetypes and this concept of standardization, which we were doing for ourselves as a company, and made it to the point that it can be shared with others, that it can be exported. We were going to do the work anyway as a company, because I think anyone who's been through deployment of more than 5 to 10 rooms is like, please standardize, at least to an extent, right? So we had to do that work anyway, but taking the signature room to something that is executable across customers around the world, we see them popping up in experience centers everywhere because people are seeing them as real now.
Yeah.
This is actually a real thing. I can do this, especially if you haven't had a chance to peek in. We have one of our archetypes here that has a guitar pick table, multiple levels of seating, the flexibility that offers, and it fits in the square footage that you would already allocate for that space, and yet uses it in a way that's completely different than your traditional, very rectangular table, everyone can't see each other type of scenario.
And partners, to your point, are packaging it up. Yep. There's a partner that has this shape of table with the projector and the compute built in. There's partners that have that with a display. I mean, you can buy a signature room in a box in various different flavors now, which is, I think, making it way easier for customers.
Yeah. But I think it's also important to point out, we also help customers because we put it in the Pro Portal to help to start to create those standards for companies. Because to your point, if I'm a company and I'm just starting on my journey, I may not know what I might encounter 5 rooms from now. But if I've got somebody to actually help me along the way, and I've got this technology from Microsoft to help to start to create those standards, now I can really move the needle and start to move forward as well.
We have a question coming in on the Pro Management Board. I think that's a nice topic to cover. Your team has invested a lot in Pro Management Board. The fact that I see Mo Khalifa standing there, Mo and I always joke how much we do not like going into PowerShell because we always need to search for the code. Managing that resource account is now possible in the Pro Management Board. So it's going to be so much easier also for partners who might not be as experienced in things like PowerShell. What are the investments that you've done in Pro Management Portal, and what's next for Pro Management Portal?
There's such a long list.
So many things.
Now where's Caroline's cringing, by the way?
I mean, there's a hugely long list. We've got to get Autopilot out and done finally, one-time passcode.
Yeah, we'll talk about that as well, yeah.
We want to deliver some of those same capabilities for Android, such as remote assist. We're actually partnering with the Intune team on some new technologies they have for that. We want to add CoPilot capabilities. So using all the signals that we get, we can be so much smarter about understanding the health of the room, but also helping users make better choices. we know if a room is unhealthy. If Caroline and I then have a meeting booked into that room, we can send us a notification saying we've gone ahead and rebooked you. I mean, it's very much like my experience with airlines this weekend. Your flight's been canceled. Click here to rebook. So we can do that. We can use AI to test out the audio and video in rooms. You know, one of the things we've heard from customers is they're shifting budgets, so they may not have a person checking proactively as often. There shouldn't be a need because we can detect people using video. We know when humans are in the room. We can detect people using audio. We know when humans are speaking. If you combine those two, you should be able to tell if audio is working, video isn't, or video is working, audio isn't. So that's a check that we can run in between meetings. Digital signage, connecting that from Pro Portal. That's been something we've been working on for a long time, or I shouldn't say that. Hoping to deliver for a long time and actually now working on it, managed through Pro Portal. You know, so much on the backlog. There's a few things I shouldn't go into around CoPilot, but
we always
tons and tons of stuff that's
when I look at Caroline, and as soon as he's, I'll ask one follow-up question on that, but she might kick me, and then I'm like,
I might. Yeah. Like, don't push it.
But so you hinted. So listen.
Yeah.
So you hinted at some CoPilot functionality in the Pro Management Portal with seeing that there's something happening in a room. What would potentially be some creative ways that we could use CoPilot in the room? That was fair, right?
We'll see.
I think there's a lot of times rooms are used without necessarily an online meeting. Caroline and I walk into a room. Wouldn't it be great to have an assistant that can take notes, can call out action items, follow-up items? I think that's, if there's a brain in the room that can listen and see, that seems like something that you could expect over time. I think connecting to things you might need to use in that discussion that you've, you know, Caroline and I have exchanged notes or documents or PowerPoints in the past, and helping us remember what maybe was in that, or the last time we got together, because I do forget decisions we make quite a lot. So I think there's a lot of capability to use the eyes and ears and brain that we have to help both in online meeting situations and just when we're collaborating there.
Yeah. It's funny that it was actually Mo that asked that question on CoPilot. So kick him if you didn't like that question, Caroline.
But I think that goes towards Microsoft's strategy. I mean, we as a company and all of us internally have seen the power of CoPilot for a long time.
Yeah.
It's just starting to hit for customers about what this power can be. And I think to your point, there's a lot of opportunity.
I should step back. What you talked about earlier, which is identifying who's in the room in any hardware, that's I think of that as already sort of done, but that's going to be huge for CoPilot.
Yes.
For CoPilot to help today with meeting notes, action items, transcript, identity is foundational. And that identity today is lost when you walk into most meeting rooms.
Yep.
So sort of step one is being able to have who said what and when in any space. That's kind of our job one in the immediate future, to help if a customer wants to use Intelligent Recap, CoPilot, any generative AI capability.
Right. Okay. Hey, Caroline, what would be the first? So for those there's a lot of customers that are now starting to deploy CoPilot.
Yeah.
What would be that first?
You guys are making up for the first 4 minutes of not saying.
I know. I'm proud of us. We'll keep our jobs this way.
And we only got a couple of minutes, so we got to take that KPI.
Okay.
No, we don't have to rush. What was I going to ask you?
You're gonna say
so with CoPilot,
Yeah.
that's the 15th time. What would be the first advice that you would give customers that are starting rollout of CoPilot now?
It's a great question because
Thank you.
you're welcome. One of the things we've heard is exactly as you've seen. Wow, you guys talk about this a lot. Is it actually worth it? Right? It's not cheap. Like, it sounds cool, but will I, customer, actually see benefit and see that much benefit? Question mark, question. And it's a very fair question, right? Anytime something becomes as much of a buzzword as the
what's
previously
happened.
mentioned word starting with
Yeah.
a C and ending with CoPilot is, you should ask, like, is that real, right? Is that something valuable? And so we've learned a lot from the customers who have gone on the earliest phases of this journey. So as you might imagine, in traditional Microsoft fashion, we have early adopters. We have people who are in the code before the code is done, who are playing with all of the things that employees are and giving us tons of feedback, just tons of feedback. And things that you don't sort of think of until somebody uses it at that scale,
Yeah.
right? Like there's a lot of things around permissioning. Sure, anyone who's looked into this is getting that question. CoPilot can search everything. CoPilot can search everything? Does everyone get to search everything? You know, like your CFO's eyes
Fair
start
question,
to like
yeah.
panic.
But customers, I don't think they're ready because of that particular
I know.
reason.
Well, so this is where I was going with
Yeah.
your question. So when we look at the data, and I think we shared a little bit of this at Ignite, and I'll go a little bit farther. Overwhelmingly, the place to get your low-hanging fruit, call it what you want, the first value is in Teams.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the graphs, what do people use in CoPilot? And it's a small, I mean, we just started, right? There's all the apps, and then there's Teams. To be fair, Outlook is kind of, you know, somewhere in the middle between those two.
Quite up high for me.
But Teams is the one that, first of all, is easiest to use because the scenario is so obvious. So all of the struggles that we will all have about being prompting wizards and are you good at this, that goes away in Teams. What did Ilya say before I joined the meeting? List what we decided to do and who's in charge of it. Were there any conflicts? Did someone make a joke? Like these questions are so intuitive and the value is so immediate that when we ask people, would you give up CoPilot? They say, well, not if you take it out of Teams. Like this meetings thing, I can't live without that.
Yep.
Perfect example. We were talking to Juan Rivera the other day.
Yeah.
And
Juan builds the product, by the way.
he
He's the
admitted
engineer.
that he was actually
great talk with you guys.
You like that?
I love that.
Yeah.
What did you ask him?
Oh, well, no, he actually gave us the use case. We said, what's the use case? And he said he had a tendency to actually multitask in meetings.
Oh,
So
From time to time.
he knew that his leadership was about to ask him a question, but he wasn't actually listening at that point in time. He asked CoPilot, what is she about to ask me?
Yeah.
Which gave him a whole series of, this is what she's talking about, this is what it is. And he was able to continue the conversation instead of, can you repeat the question? Can you go through it and everything else? So those kind of little things. But like I said, we've been experiencing this for a significant amount of time, being early adopters and everything else. And I'm excited for everybody out there to see it.
I want to add one thing that I'm super excited about that you didn't ask, but to me, it's a little thing that makes an amazing difference, and that's voice isolation.
Oh my gosh.
So we announced that a while ago. It uses the same speech sample that you would do for being identified in a room, but the benefit is for you.
Yeah.
It is a technology that literally isolates only your voice. Caroline could be right next to me.
Yep.
If I have that turned on, no one in the meeting can hear her. So we've been using it for a while, and one of my coworkers, Albert, was traveling in places with poor connectivity, lots of noise, very disruptive in meetings. You know, he'd come off mute, and we were like, dude, turn on voice isolation. And it was like a door had shut. It was just his voice, perfectly clear.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And that's just one example. Like, I've got dogs at home that go nuts, and we've added a UI that actually shows when it's working for you.
Yep.
So it says blocking noise, and now I don't have to be like, are you guys okay? Can you hear the dogs? I could just sort of fake it and continue, confidently. It's amazing. So I can't wait for that to get out.
I remember testing that and just blasting loud music in the background. I just could not hear it.
Wow, our partners like to bring in leaf blowers. I don't know where in a conference
we've
a
seen
leaf
leaf
blower
blowers,
is actually a use case.
blenders, vacuum cleaners.
Correct.
Like, it's a great demo. It's a great demo.
Before we wrap this one up, and we do have two more questions on OTP and Autopilot.
Yes.
Almost. Autopilot. But let's see if there's one more question from the audience that people here would like to ask. It's a quiet room thus far. Ron, go
All
ahead.
right, Ron.
The
Meeting room of the future.
room of the future. I get the question a lot. What will happen to the meeting room in the next 15 years? I don't even know what's happening.
15 years.
I had the question today.
My God, you're Florida.
It'll be on the moon.
I was like a year and a half ago. I
Fine.
couldn't even think of where we're at now. But what's the meeting room of the future like? maybe for both of you.
15 years. Is
There's still more to
maybe
be done.
Keep us to 5.
Not that
Yeah,
far,
I
but
was
think
going to
maybe
say
5,
3 to 5.
10.
Yeah.
I think there'll
That was
be a lot more eyes and ears in every space because they'll become dramatic. And, cameras, speakers, mics, they'll become dramatically cheaper. They'll be wirelessly connected. We just have to solve the wireless power problem of physics. But they'll be much easier to connect and deploy. And the intelligence between the brain in the room and the cloud will create cinematic experiences directed by sort of each of us. So I think one of the things that's super interesting to work on is our brains have been have gotten used to watching a movie where the director directs your view. But that is kind of very different in a meeting room scenario because while Caroline may want to look at Jimmy, I may want to look at Michael, or I may want to look at around the room, or at some point the presenter may really want to direct everyone's attention. So I'm personally pretty excited about the ability of audio video AI to have the best of both worlds, to allow people to look around as if you were naturally there.
Yeah.
And then snap attention to what the presenter is doing and really erase the line between whether I'm in the room doing that or I'm somewhere else. I also think we'll do a lot more to erase everything else between people in the room and being remote that is a distraction. So really make it feel like people remote are at the same table with the same background view out the window. We can do that. And I don't know if that's a combination of sort of AR, XR technology or some other approaches that we've seen, but I think we will keep erasing those lines in hybrid meetings, and then we'll bring those experiences everywhere. So I think the room of the future can be any space.
But that goes to the point of, Microsoft, we are a data-driven company. And the data says we haven't penetrated a large majority of the opportunities yet. And I think that really shows the opportunity for partners, and why we see Microsoft everywhere here is because we are addressing the concerns of today.
Yep.
But we still got a large road ahead of us.
Yeah, I feel good that there's still a lot of work left to do.
A lot of work left to do.
Yeah.
And I think it's exciting work.
Yeah.
I think it's exciting.
So, Caroline, thank you. Ilya, thank you. Thanks for those
Thanks
that
for
watched
coming.
online. Thanks for everyone here. Have a great ISE.
you.
We're going to be, I think we're doing a Ask Me Anything with Frank right after this on Service Hub and Teams Rooms. So stay tuned.
Teams Rooms on Hub.
Teams
Correct.
Rooms, we didn't even
Correct.
talk about it today. Yeah. So exciting times. Again, if you are at ISE, pick up your passport, pick up your badges, and we'll catch you soon. Thank you all for
Thanks,
watching.
everybody.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Were there questions online about autopilot that we didn't get to?